She almost didn't notice him at first. It was near closing time at a small-town McDonald's, and Emily was counting the minutes until she could clock out. Her feet ached, her stomach growled, and the only thing waiting for her at home was a stack of unpaid bills. The free employee meal in her locker was supposed to be her dinner. Then she saw him. A man in a wheelchair sat alone by the window. His jacket was worn, his hands slightly trembling as he checked his nearly empty wallet. When Emily brought his tray, she realized he had only ordered the cheapest item on the menu. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, embarrassed. "That's all I can afford." Something in his voice made her pause. Without thinking too much about it, Emily went to her locker, grabbed her own meal, the last food she had for the night, and placed it gently on his tray. "You look like you could use this more than I do," she smiled. His eyes filled with tears. "You don't even know me," he whispered. "I don't have to," she replied. What Emily didn't know was that the man wasn't just any customer. He was the son of a billionaire, living quietly and independently after a life-altering accident. He had been observing how people treated him when they thought he was just another stranger. The next week, Emily was called into the manager's office, terrified she'd done something wrong. Instead, she was offered a full college scholarship funded anonymously. The knock on the manager's door felt louder than it should have. Emily wiped her hands on her apron, heart pounding. Had someone complained? Was giving away her employee meal against policy? She stepped inside, bracing for bad news. Instead, her manager stood beside a sharply dressed woman holding a leather folder. "Emily," the woman began gently. "My name is Claire Whitmore. I represent the Whitmore Foundation." The name meant nothing to her, until she saw the man from last week roll into the office behind them. He looked different now, confident, composed. His jacket replaced with a tailored coat. But his eyes were the same. "You gave me your dinner," he said softly, "when you had nothing to gain." Emily felt her cheeks burn. "It wasn't a big deal." "It was," he replied. "Most people look away. You didn't." Claire opened the folder. Inside was a letter, and numbers that made Emily blink twice. A full college scholarship. Tuition, books, housing. Everything covered. "For what?" Emily whispered. "For being exactly who you are," the man answered. "I've been visiting different places for months. I wanted to see how people treat someone they believe has nothing to offer them. You were the only one who gave without hesitation." Emily's throat tightened. "I just thought you were hungry." "I was," he smiled. "But not just for food." Tears filled her eyes as realization settled in. That small, simple moment, one she almost dismissed, had changed her life. But she didn't yet realize something even bigger was coming. Because the Whitmore Foundation wasn't just offering her an education. They were offering her a future she never dared to imagine. Emily stared at the scholarship letter as if it might disappear. This isn't real," she whispered. "It is," the man said gently. "And there's more." He introduced himself properly this time, Daniel Whitmore, son of tech billionaire Richard Whitmore. He explained that after his accident, he chose to live quietly, without security, without privilege on display. He wanted to understand the world again, not from a boardroom, but from eye level. "I lost more than my ability to walk," Daniel said. "I lost my faith in people. Pity is easy. Kindness without expectation? That's rare." Emily swallowed hard. "I didn't know who you were." "That's the point," he replied. Claire slid another document across the desk. The Whitmore Foundation wanted Emily to share her story in a new campaign focused on everyday compassion. They believed real change started with ordinary people. "I'm just a cashier," Emily said. Daniel shook his head. "No. You're someone who gave her last meal when she had every reason not to." Word spread quickly. A local news outlet picked up the story. Then a national one. Messages flooded in, from parents in Ohio, students in London, nurses in Toronto, all saying the same thing: "Your kindness reminded me to be better." But the most powerful moment came days later. Emily returned to work for her final shift before starting college. An elderly woman approached the counter and quietly paid for the next 5 customers. "You inspired me," she said with a wink. Emily realized then, the scholarship was life-changing. But the ripple effect? That was legacy. The story should have ended there. But kindness has a way of growing when no one is looking. 2 weeks before Emily was set to leave for college, Daniel returned to the McDonald's, this time not as a quiet observer, but with a proposal. "I want to start something," he told her. "And I don't want it to be about my family's money. I want it to be about your heart." He explained his idea, a nationwide initiative called the Last Meal Project, encouraging people to give something small but meaningful to someone in need. A meal. A coat. Time. Attention. The Whitmore Foundation would fund it, but the inspiration would be Emily's story. "I'm not special," she insisted. Daniel smiled. "That's exactly why you are." The launch video featured no dramatic music, no luxury backdrops, just Emily in her work uniform, telling the truth. "I was hungry too. But sometimes being kind matters more than being full." The message spread far beyond their town. In Chicago, a barista paid for a homeless veteran's breakfast. In Manchester, a teenager gave up his bus fare to help a mother with groceries. In Vancouver, strangers began leaving prepaid coffee tabs labeled simply, "For someone who needs it." Millions watched. Thousands participated. But the real twist came when Emily received a letter from Daniel months later. Inside was a simple note. "You didn't just restore my faith in people. You restored my faith in myself." Because before he met her, Daniel had been preparing to withdraw from public life entirely. One small meal had changed that decision. And suddenly, Emily understood something powerful. Kindness doesn't just feed the hungry. It awakens the hopeful. A year later, Emily stood on a college campus she once only dreamed about. Between classes, interviews, and speaking events, life had changed in ways she still struggled to process. But she kept one thing the same. Every Friday, no matter how busy she was, she volunteered at a local community center serving meals. Because she never wanted to forget what hunger felt like. One evening, while handing a tray to a young boy sitting alone, she noticed a familiar hesitation in his eyes, the quiet embarrassment she had once seen in Daniel's. "Thank you," he whispered. "You don't have to thank me," Emily said gently. "We all need help sometimes." Across the room, Daniel watched from his wheelchair, smiling. The Last Meal Project had now expanded across the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada. Thousands of small acts were happening every day, none flashy, none seeking attention. Just people choosing to care. Reporters often asked Emily what it felt like to have her life changed by a billionaire's son. She always gave the same answer. "My life didn't change because he was rich. It changed because we both chose kindness." The truth was, Daniel had tested the world, but Emily had tested something deeper. She proved that generosity isn't measured by how much you have. It's measured by what you're willing to give when you have almost nothing. And somewhere tonight, in a quiet restaurant or on a cold street corner, someone will face a small choice. Keep what little they have. Or share it. And because of one meal, more people are choosing to share.